I'm going to piggyback real quick on the question that Peach McIntyre posed on her latest video. Is gentrification a good thing? That was the title of her video. And she talked about how she grew up in the projects and how when gentrification happened in her area in Tampa, how people were able to move out of the projects that they were living in, and women became nurses. They ended up becoming nurses and getting their life together, getting off drugs, leaving boyfriends or dudes that was not good for them, leaving drug dealers, all that good stuff, right? She's talked about her story before. And I just wanted to share a little bit about how environment absolutely matters. So, when I was younger, up until about the age of between 5 and 12, I lived on the southeast side of Grand Rapids off of Sheldon Avenue, and it was very underdeveloped, very ran down, very infested with mice and roaches and different things like that. It was very was not kept up well at all, right? Um and when I was 12 years old, my mom bought a house in the Kentwood area. If you are from the Grand Rapids area, you know that people, especially black people, middle class people, start moving out to Kentwood before they start gentrifying and moving other black people out to Kentwood. But that's a different story. So um, we moved to Kentwood, and my mom got a house built. And so I spent basically half my childhood or young years in a poverty stricken area of town. And then the other half was on a nicer side of town where, I had my own bedroom. Everything was brand new. We had no crime, no issues in the neighborhood, no infestations. There was, a great scenery. There were parks and trails and all the good things, right? And I truly believe that the reason why I am as successful as I am and as intentional as I am is because of my mother changing my environment, right? And then I even grew up when I decided to have, when I had my daughter at 19, it was very popular for people to go and live if you were young and you needed financial assistance, if you were on public assistance and everything else. There's a area of town called Camelot where it was very popular for girls my age and young women my age to move into. And it was either low to no amount that you had to pay, or you could get on Section 8. Instead, what I decided to do is I stayed with my mom for a few years until I got my money up, until, I created my financial plan, got everything together, and then I moved on a nicer side of town. The place that I moved into was not the nicest building in the area, right? I moved to East Grand Rapids, right on the cusp of East Town and East Grand Rapids. And not to say this is a nice side of town because it's mostly white. It's a nice side of town because of how the low crime rate, the walking distance to the store. Like, there were so many different things that I was looking for in how I raised my daughter. And so, there was a park right next door. The grocery store was close. There was a Starbucks to where I can grow and start my business. The school was right next door. Like, all these different amenities that I wanted. And also, I was around people who were moving and shaking. I was around other single mothers. I was around women who were married, who are doing what they're supposed to do, women who are building their own home-based businesses. And so I was in proximity to that in which I desired to see as a young mother. I decided not to move into Camelot, where there's a lot of low income or no income individuals living there, to where, most people don't use it as a stepping stone. They use it to get stuck, right? This designed for us to get stuck there, right? Instead, I said, okay, this building, it was a quadruplex, and there was 4 apartments in one big house building, and it was $750 a month. I can swing that. So I became debt free in that home. I became to build my business in that home, in that apartment, I should say. And I raised my daughter for about 4 or 5 years in that home, in that building. And it was the best thing I ever did. It was the best thing I ever did. And so environment does matter. When Peach was talking about that in her video, environment does matter. Don't allow these systems and these public things. Now, if you're going to use public housing, if you're going to use public assistance, because I use all of that, you have to use it as a stepping stone. Don't allow the system to help you get stuck. And then they gentrify you and you displaced and you don't know what to do, right? You got to take matters into your own hands. You got to make sure you're on your P's and Q's and you got a game plan. Environment absolutely matters. So if you are a young mother, or if you are a person looking at this and listening to this and you don't think environment matters and where you live matters, and you think you hitting a lick because you don't have to pay any rent or whatever the case is, or somebody paying it for you, keep that in mind, that that's by design, and environment absolutely matters.